Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is 𝗘𝗫𝗣𝗟𝗢𝗏, the Law of Assumption Fairy, and I'm here to teach you everything to do with manifesting and understanding the law of assumptions. Now, to start off with, if you're totally new to the law of assumption, the law of assumption is basically, it's almost like another word for the law of attraction. It's just taught differently. Now, manifesting is manifesting. Whether you choose to follow the teachings that are told in the law of attraction, or whether you decide to follow the teachings that are told in the law of assumption, it's the same thing. Manifesting is manifesting. The law is the law, but it's just in the way that it's taught. Now, with the law of assumption, the understanding comes from that one, you are completely responsible for your entire reality, and it's all based on the assumptions, the beliefs, the feelings that you have about yourself, about a particular situation, and you understand that through all of that, and through your mind being the source, and by you having the assumption that you already have that thing, having the belief that you already have that thing, generating the feelings and generating a state of you already having the particular thing that you want, then you are able to experience it. Now, the dictionary definition of an assumption is a thing that is accepted as true or certain to happen without proof. That is what you are doing when it comes to manifesting. You are deciding that you already have something without having any physical proof. You are deciding and believing that what is going on in your imagination, which is the true reality, what is going on in your imagination, what you decide to be true, what you decide to believe, what you decide to accept, what you decide to expect, you believe it as true, you believe it as certain without physically having any proof for that particular thing. Like if you want a certain car, money, etc., etc., you accept yourself as already having that particular thing without needing to see it in the 3D yet, because you understand that by accepting it as true in your mind, in your mind being the source, that you will eventually get to experience it. So that's why it's called the law of assumption, because that's what the whole thing about manifesting is. You are deciding that something is already true without physically seeing it. You are then generating the feelings of you already having it, and then you get to experience it. So that is the baseline definition, but at the end of the day, it's just manifesting or the law. But you can't really just say the law, because people start to think about, you know, the laws that we have in society and stuff like that. So yeah, law of assumption, law of attraction, it's just manifesting, but the assumption part is understanding, is the assumption part. And I guess with the law of assumption, it comes more with the understanding of why all this stuff works, how it exactly works, instead of just doing like techniques and believing in like the universe giving things to you, etc., etc. So that is the first definition. Now moving on to the next definition, 𝗪, or the state akin to sleep. So first of all, akin means of similar character. So the state akin to sleep is just a state that is similar to sleep. So 𝗫𝗏 Goddard talked about this. It's a technique, it's a technique, and it's something that we do naturally. But 𝗫𝗏 Goddard would talk about 𝗪, and he talks about the state akin to sleep, and that is the way in which he will manifest things. So he puts himself into 𝗪, into a state akin to sleep, lying down on his back, you know, arms straight, basically trying to capture the feeling as if you're just about to go to sleep. And in that moment, in that particular moment, he will play on a loop, a visualization that represents him already having the thing that he desires. That is the way in which he chose to manifest. That's the technique that he used to get himself into the desired state of assuming the wish fulfilled. And he says as well, you know, an assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. So by doing that continuously, like every single night, until you get to a point where you just know it's already done, you have the feeling of it being already done. For him, that is how he manifested. Now, 𝗪 is not something that you need to do to manifest. I have a video on talking about how you don't need to visualize to be able to manifest, because put it this way, everything that you've experienced in your life already, you didn't have to go into 𝗪. You didn't have to do any of the visualization stuff for you to be able to experience it. So it's a technique that you can use if you choose to. but you don't have to use it. Now, we enter SAT. So SAT is when your mind, like the brain waves, enter into alpha and theta. We enter SAT right before we go to sleep. That's why Neville Goddard talks a lot about doing it before you go to sleep and falling asleep in that particular state and you playing that particular loop, which you don't have to, by the way. It's just, I guess it's just the way that it works for him. And you also enter SATs like first thing when you wake up. So when you're in, your brain is relaxed basically, like you're almost in like a am I asleep, am I awake kind of state. Your brain is very, very relaxed. Now you also enter SATs when you are doing something that is like almost on autopilot. Like you could just be going for a walk, you could be walking your dog, brushing your teeth, like anything that doesn't really require you to think about it. Your brain is completely relaxed, you'll just focus on whatever it is that you're doing. You also enter SATs in those moments. So you can, first thing when you wake up, right before you go to sleep, or whatever, you can decide to visualize what it is that you want to, what it is that you want to manifest, but always as if you already have it. You're not visualizing the moment that you get it. You should visualize as if it's been, let's say, like a week after you already have it, a week after you have the money, the car, like whatever it is. It's you already having that particular thing. And then obviously you, and then experiencing it on the outside. And another thing with SATs is something you can induce yourself. Like you just basically need to be in a relaxed state. So you can do that through meditation. You can do that through lying down and making yourself feel sleepy as if you're about to go to sleep, or just being in almost like a meditative state where your brain is relaxed, you are just focused on whatever it is that you are whatever it is you are visualizing and imagining. That basically is SAT. It doesn't have to be right before you go to sleep. You don't have to fall asleep in the particular state. Like, let me say this, SATs is something that when I first read about it with Neville Goddard, it definitely like frustrated me. I would always try to do it and then I'd fall asleep halfway through and I would feel like, okay, so I'm just not going to be able to manifest the things that I want to manifest. But you don't need SATs to manifest. It's just a particular technique. Definitely read any of Neville Goddard's stuff if you want to find out more about it and how he does it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, another term is your mental diet. So this is basically everything that you do in your mind. In the same way that your diet doesn't necessarily mean you're going on a diet because you want to lose weight or you want to gain weight or whatever. Your diet consists of what you eat on a daily basis. So your mental diet consists of what you feed your mind on a daily basis. When you are thinking, how you are feeling, that is your mental diet. Your mental diet is basically like all the thoughts that you allow, you identify with, you focus on, you dwell on, the conversations you have in your head, the arguments that you have with people, when you're thinking about a particular thing and you're thinking about this and this that you have to do. Again, like affirmations are not a technique, it's something that you do all the time. So the affirmations that you have for things, when you're thinking about money, you're thinking about your relationship, you're thinking about a car, you're thinking whatever you're thinking, I don't have this thing, I wish I had this thing, you're stressing, you're worrying, that is your mental diet. When you are directing your mental diet in the correct way, you're doing it from a place of you already having that particular thing. You're being grateful for it. You're having conversations in your head with friends or whatever about you already having that particular thing. You're planning, you're expecting. It's basically everything that you do in your mind. So think of it this way. To manifest what it is that you want, to experience what it is that you want, in the same way that if you wanted to lose weight, if you wanted to gain weight, you know that you not necessarily have to be, but you would think that you need to be on a particular kind of diet to be able to experience that results. To be able to experience that particular result. It's the same with manifesting. So think about the same way you're going to decide what food you put in your mouth and what you decide to eat is the same way that you're going to decide and become aware of the thoughts and the feelings that you are going to entertain, you are going to feed your mind with. It's the same thing. It's just a mental diet. It's just your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions, your beliefs, etc. What you decide to focus on and dwell on, and it should always be in the direction of what it is that you want to experience from a place of you already having it. Which leads me on to living from the end. Now, living from the end, you probably heard it a lot. People tell you to live from the end. I might have said it, live from the end, live in the end, etc., etc. What it really should just be called is think from the end. To manifest anything, like I said at the beginning, the biggest thing and what you should focus on is manifesting the belief that you already have that particular thing. And to do that, you are thinking from the place of you already having it. For example, if you want a particular house, for example, when you are going through your day, so your mental diet, what your mental diet would consist of is you thinking about, oh, I'm going home to that house, thinking about the new sofas that you're going to buy for the house, thinking about the party that you're planning for your friends, like the housewarming party that you're planning. You're thinking from the place of you already having it. That is what your desire consists of. So living in the end is basically just thinking from the end. No matter what it is, think to yourself and ask yourself, what would I be thinking and feeling? How would I be thinking and feeling now that I already have this particular thing, and do that. Like it's just a discipline. It's just about directing your mind to the place where you're thinking as if you already have that particular thing. That is basically what living in the end is. It doesn't mean you do anything physical. So manifestation is nothing to do with you physically. Like, of course, action will come. Action is inevitable, but it's not about you trying to change the outside, you trying to like force the outside to change for you to get your manifestation, because you understand that the source is your mind, everything comes from your mind. So if you want to experience something, you have to change the internal. It's the same way, like this, how the saying goes with like, you can't change anyone else, you can only change yourself. This actually leads me on to the next thing, which is everyone is you pushed out. But yeah, just to round it off, living from the end, living in the end is basically just thinking in the end, thinking from the place of you already having that particular thing. Now, like I said, you might have heard people say you can't change other people. The only person you can change is yourself. Now, that is very true, especially because of everyone is you pushed out. So Neville Goddard spoke a lot about this. I have a whole video on this, and I also answered it in one of my question videos. But it basically comes from the understanding that, first of all, we are all one. We are all part of one consciousness. Although we experience life as individuals, we are all one and we are all connected. Now, everyone is you pushed out is to do with the personal relationships that you have with people and the influence that you have over people and that other people have over you. So everyone is you pushed out can commonly be like misinterpreted to think that, like, let's say I am the only person that's real and I create every single person, and basically as if like it really like can make people think of this main character syndrome to the point where they don't believe that other people are real and that other people are puppets and all that kind of stuff. It's nothing to do with that. We don't create people. People exist outside of us. People have their own lives outside of us. They exist without us. But when people are within our reality and it's to do with our personal relationship to that person, yes, we do have influence over them. And like I said, vice versa, they have influence over us based on what you believe about yourself and also what you believe about that person, what you expect from that person, all of that kind of stuff. So if you have a concept about yourself that you are amazing, you are worthy, everyone always treats you nicely, like you always get the best treatment from people, etc., etc., that is what you will experience. If you have friends or a partner or whatever, and you expect a certain thing from them, you expect them to act a certain way, you expect that gender, that age, that whatever, that race, whatever, to be a certain way, that is what you will experience when it comes to their personal relationship with you. So based on your own self-concept, how you think and feel about yourself, you basically select a version of that person that is going to represent that. But they can be that way to you, and then to someone else, they can be a completely different person. Like, I'm sure every single one of us has at least at some point in their lives experienced a person that to us, they could be the nicest, most loving, sweet, whatever person, but to someone else, they are completely different. Or the other way around, to you, they are like they're terrible, they're a nightmare, but to someone else, amazing, sweet person. And that is because everyone is you pushed out. It's based on your own self-concept, how you think and feel about yourself, and what you expect of those people is going to influence how people interact with you, and they're only going to reflect back what you expect of them and how you think about yourself. So that is basically everyone is you pushed out. Now, the final definition is about revision. Again, it's something that Neville Goddard speaks about. He has a lecture actually called The Pruning Shears of Revision. I don't know if that's the first one where he ever mentioned it, but definitely listen to it and check it out. But revision is basically about you changing past events to suit what it is that you want to experience. So people will use revision a lot when it comes to specific people, relationships. If there's an argument that you had with someone, if there's something from your past that you want to change, you feel like it is the reason why you're experiencing a certain thing now, you can change it. And again, it's on the basis that basically that time is not linear. Everything is happening now. So the past, the present, the future, all happening now. Everything is happening now. There are parallel universes, parallel realities. There's like many different probabilities and versions of you. And basically with revision, because you are going back and you basically replay the event in your mind in the way in which you wanted it to happen, and you do it so much to the point where it feels real, and it basically is like a new memory for you. You now believe and think that is how it happened, that you basically will quantum jump to a reality in which that did happen. And obviously there's a probability and there's a version of you in which this new revised event happened that can then cause you to quantum jump, to quantum shift into the reality where that did happen, and then you get to experience whatever you changed basically. Now, that is the more like scientific explanation of it. That's not exactly how Neville Goddard explains it. Definitely check out his lecture, because I can't from the top of my head remember how he explains it. But that's basically like how revision works, why it works. But it's something that you can do if you choose to, if you want to revise things, if you just had an argument with someone, you don't like how it went, you want to resolve things, you can revise that argument in your head. It can lead to you, like, making up or whatever. Like, try it for yourself, try it on, you can even do it, like, I think Neville Goddard talks about doing it for your day. You go through your day and you can revise things that you didn't like, and then tomorrow you'll get to experience something better basically. But again, I have a whole video on this. Revision isn't something that you need to do, because from the understanding that everything is happening now and that time is not linear, you therefore don't need to rely on the past to be able to change something. You understand that everything is happening now. So just decide now in this moment that you have already experienced what you want to experience. So like, you don't need to go back to, let's say specific people, for example. You don't need to go back and revise an argument that you had with that particular person. Let's say it's the argument as to why you broke up, or it was the argument where they told you that they no longer want contact with you, or whatever it is. You don't need to revise that particular event for you to then have contact with that person again, to have a relationship with that person. You understand that everything is happening now anyway. So if you decide to think and feel and think from and live in the end and have the mental diet and all that kind of stuff, from a place of you already being in a relationship with that person again, then that is what you would experience. So you can revise that argument if you want to, but you don't need to. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more definitions. If there are any more definitions that you would like me to go over or you would like me to explain, leave them in the comments below and I will hopefully make another video going over them. But yeah, I hope this video has helped you guys, and I will see you in the next one.